Welcome back to Screen Preach for episode 31. 31, and next week is Halloween and all the, the scary stuff. So I will try to keep it themed properly next week. We'll see what happens. Each week I'm picking, I'm trying to figure out which movie to focus on each week, and I'm working with what I got. But yeah, episode 31. Here we are. Come here. Working with what we got. And this week was great because we got a really great movie here that I will talk briefly about. But, yeah, so that's where we're at. And as usual, we'll start with what's going on, what's coming out, what's coming up, what have I been watching, what have you been watching, what do we have at our disposal these days. First things first, Archer, I'm still watching. One more week, and it's done for season 11. Why wait until the news to mention it? It's been renewed for a 12th season. Doesn't surprise me. Very popular show, of course. What else? The Borat sequel did come out, so people who weren't sure when it comes out, you can now go to Amazon Prime and watch that movie. It is out. I will talk about it on the show as well. Not next week, because I do want to keep it themed with Halloween, but maybe, I guess, the week after, probably. So that's, if you don't want to be spoiled, if you watch the show and you don't want to be spoiled, you have 2 weeks to watch the movie before I talk about it. What else? This is it. This is the way. This is the week. And I'm not talking about Halloween. Who gives a shit about Halloween right now? Who cares? Forget about Halloween. Who cares about Halloween? The Mandalorian Season 2 returns. Or The Mandalorian returns with Season 2. This week. This Friday, October 30th. And yeah. We all get to return to a galaxy far, far away to see what's next for Mando and Baby Yoda, whose name is not Baby Yoda, but I'm sure this season we'll actually learn what his name is. I suppose. Okay, so that's the big stuff. Also want to mention some interesting show that I saw a trailer for while I was watching something else that looks interesting. It's called Your Honor. It's on Showtime. It comes out in December. Keep your eyes and ears open for this one. It looks interesting. I think it's limited, too. It's one season, maybe. I don't know. But Bryan Cranston plays a judge. His son accidentally kills someone in a car crash, and the kid that he kills happens to be the son of a mob boss. That's an interesting premise, and the cast is interesting and makes it more worth watching. Looks good because of the cast. So there's another one to keep your eyes and ears open for. But yeah, that's where we're at. We'll get into the news of the week. I already mentioned Archer's renewed for 12th season. Not surprising. What else we got? We got Sherlock Holmes 3, which is apparently delayed. Now, last week I mentioned how they want to make a shit ton of them, apparently. Not just 3, which I liked. The third one is delayed. Not surprising, considering everything is fucking delayed. So, the director confirmed that it is delayed. As if we didn't have that movie for fucking... As if we didn't have the sequel to the second one for freaking 10 years, because Downey Jr. was so busy with Marvel. And we gotta wait even longer for it. Terrence Winter's developing a mafia cops true drama for HBO Max. If you don't know who Terrence Winter is, he's a very talented writer who did episodes of The Sopranos. He created the hit HBO series Boardwalk Empire. He wrote The Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, he's the screenwriter from Wolf of Wall Street. He is working, working with the people doing the Batman show that's coming to HBO Max, unless I keep thinking he's involved in that, but it might just be David Chase, creator of The Sopranos, that's involved in that. But anyway, he's doing this. So he's doing another Mafia show for HBO Max. Seems to be his forte. Oh, check this out. First look at Tom Holland as Nathan Drake for the Uncharted movie coming out. Pretty cool shot we got, finally. Some first look at this. So check that out. Also, Jared Leto is returning as the Joker for the director's cut of Justice League. So some of the new scenes will include Jared Leto's Joker, which is just more to pile onto that. There's so much in that 4-hour cut of that film, which will be broken up into 4, I guess, episodes is what they confirmed on HBO Max next year. Scott Speedman joins Netflix's You for season 3. So You is returning for third season, of course. And now Scott Speedman has joined the cast. Scott Speedman, of course, the last thing I watched him in consistently was... What the fuck was the name of that show? It's a good show. Why am I... Oh, Animal Kingdom. Yeah. I won't spoil what happens with his character in Animal Kingdom if you haven't gotten that far yet. But that's a good show. Go check that out. Falcon and Winter Soldier writer teases characters from the early MCU returning in the show. So like early, like Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Thor, Captain America, I guess those early ones. We have returning characters from those early Phase 1 days, Infinity Saga days, that are returning in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I am curious who they could be, I wonder. A little more hype. Keep hyping us up. I thought I heard a rumor that WandaVision won't be coming out this year, but I didn't get a confirmation on that. It would mean definitely no Marvel properties, no projects from Marvel at all, not even shows, in the year 2020, if that is true. I could have sworn, though, it is still coming out at the end of the year, but I don't know. I put this up on Instagram. Fast and Furious franchise is ending with its 11th film. So I don't actually remember what film they're on right now. I think it's 9, which means they have 2 more in mind after that. But it will be ending at the 11th film. I'm not a... If you've watched my episodes, you know I'm not a fan anymore. I used to really enjoy it when it was back at number 5. Fast 5 was good and stuff. But actually, they do not... It's not like they get worse. There's good ones. There's good recent ones, too. I'm just done with the whole thing. Like, I'm done with that whole vibe. Like, I've been fatigued. I can't watch any more of it. But that's just me. Like, it's not that they're not good, you know? But so for fans of it, it's done with the 11th movie. But can they please title them better? Just title them better. That's all I want. That's the one thing that bothers me. Don't number. Once you're after 4, don't number anymore. It's like lazy titling to me. Fast and Furious 11. Come on. They try too. They Fast 5, Furious 7, right? But still, like, you could do a little better with it. Do Fast and Furious and then subtitle it with something else that relates to the movie. That's better. Subtitle these fucking movies. It's late they're not going to subtitle the ones that are already out, but I mean, like, the ones that still have to come out. Try to title them better, please. So it's a little more appealing to look at a fucking poster of it. I don't know. What else? There wasn't a whole lot of news this week, but something really interesting happened with AMC theaters, because they're like really struggling during this pandemic. Obviously, they're on like the verge of bankruptcy, and they're trying to sell stock, and they have this new program they're going to try out, which offers audiences the chance to buy a theater for a screening of a new movie. That's one of their new strategies here. Is you can pay like $300 to and you and like a few other people in your group can just have the whole theater to yourself to see like Tenet or whatever. That's I'm sorry, but that's just like too much. Like nobody's gonna I mean I would if it was something I just had to see in a theater. Like if it were Marvel, like I know it's like Tenet I really want to see in a theater, but I don't know that I will get to, which sucks, but I'm not gonna spend $300 to make it happen. If it were fucking Black Widow, I'd deeply consider it, just cause I don't know. It's steep. That's steep. That's steep. And apparently $100 for older movies. Who's gonna? That's not gonna happen. People aren't gonna pay watch something they've already seen in a theater that much money. If it was like $40, that's cool, sure. But like $100, it's not gonna happen. People aren't really gonna do that. Power Rangers is planning to do a full cinematic reboot of that entire franchise. I grew up on the Power Rangers shows. They're doing new movies and TV shows, more aimed towards adults, and it's supposed to be like a cinematic universe. So Power Rangers is getting rebooted and redone in its entirety. So that's, I don't know, that I saw that looked interesting too. That is our news of the week. So we will move on to our analysis. Analysis of the week this week. And we had a new movie, a solid movie, probably an Oscar contender, finally like a really good movie like that came out and can watch. I have been keeping everyone posted on it since the first poster and photos dropped and trailer dropped. Aaron Sorkin's latest film, The Trial of the Chicago 7, is what I will be talking about today. In the name of the Godfather, the Son of Odin, and the Holy Jedi. So let's do that. Yeah. Give me a second, will you, friend? I've never been on trial for my thoughts before. One thing I'll say right off the bat, performances, top fucking notch. But of course, I'm a writer, so I'm going to just straight out say it. Obviously, this is Aaron Sorkin. So there's no problems here. This is like peak writing. Okay. Quick answer, does the structure work? Of course, absolutely. It's Aaron Sorkin. Okay, he's one of the greatest screenwriters. He's one of the greatest screenwriters of all time. And this film is the perfect film for him to have directed too, which he did. He did direct. It's his second time ever directing. And the reason I say it's perfect is because it's a courtroom drama, which is perfect for him because that is something that he loves to do most, something he has always said. He has a history of telling people that he would love to make every drama he does a courtroom drama in some way, shape, or form. He has a history of making those kind of films, too. He's done, even the big political things like West Wing and whatever, but his famous movie is A Few Good Men. That's his classic, and that's courtroom drama. That's like the quintessential courtroom drama. The structure is exactly as it should be in this movie. It's exactly how he always describes writing. If you've ever listened to the way he talks about it, for structure, for him, it's like inciting action, reversal, unraveling, climax. straightforward. No problems. Everything's built to perfectly. Just all around great structure. Just in terms of talking about structure, great structure. My favorite thing about the way he wrote this one, besides the amazing dialogue, he has a way with dialogue. Is that he excels in terms of his direction here. The way he cut between the court scenes to show us the riots was extremely effective. The cross-cutting is better than it's ever been in all of his movies, okay? And he directed this one, too. So he had a direct hand in every decision made for this movie. Between the trial, the riots and protests, and the comedy and dialogue of Abby's character, or the character of Abby on stage, all mixed in with great music in the background, was epic. Those sequences were my favorite. The conflict and stakes are presented to you immediately. What is this movie about? It's about American lives being sent to die in war, and so our heroes in this story have a strong intention, strong beliefs, and their story is about them fighting for those beliefs. The way the opening sequence is done, especially the cutting, which is essential because the way he cuts the various moments in the sequence is meant to separate the little differences in perspective that each character has. So in that opening sequence, we're seeing the stakes, we're seeing the characters, we're seeing it's the inciting action, what's going to cause the rest of the story, what's going to spark the rest of the story. But the way he cut it lets us see the little subtle differences in each character we're going to be following in this story, which I really liked. He even does takes a little page from Archer, if you will. The way he would cut the last word off of the character's sentence and then immediately cut to the first word of the next character's sentence. I love that cutting. Archer does that a lot. Those differences that the characters have set up the inner conflict they'll have with each other throughout the story later, especially between Hayden and Hoffman, our two clear main characters, played by Redmayne and Sacha Baron Cohen, respectively. Those two steal the show in this movie with their performances. What are the plot points? This is Sorkin. It was simple enough for me to see. The only one I wasn't 100% sure about was the reversal, but it's only because he follows a really powerful moment with another really powerful moment, so I had to kind of just pick what I thought was the reversal, based on how things unravel after the reversal. That's how you can kind of tell which one is and perhaps isn't. If you're trying to decide, was that a plot point or was that a plot point? You can kind of tell by what follows or what came before. So, easily enough, the inciting action is the decision to go to Chicago, and we are simultaneously introduced to the reasoning for going to Chicago in that opening. The action of the film is everything building up to the reversal. So, the trial progressing, the truth of the events coming to life for both the jury and us. The jury, by the way, of course, stands in for us, the audience. Sorkin knew how to effectively not show us the events of the protests first, because the story is the trial more than that. And also, if you told us and showed us what happened first with the riots and protests, it wouldn't be as impactful. Those things coming to light in the trial. You want to learn as much as the characters. He always says the jury's the best in a courtroom drama for acting as the audience because they know as little as we do. So that's why you don't show us the protests. You show us the trial, and then you can cut to the protests. Then we're getting the information for the first time at the same time the trial's going on. The jury's getting it, we're getting it. That's how you do this. And that's probably like the first thing he knew he was going to do when he wrote this movie. I don't know. I'm just saying that's obvious enough. I'm not 100% sure, like I said, what the reversal was because there were two big moments, but so like first we have the big cross-cut sequence at the middle of the movie. It is at the middle. It's at the midpoint, but it's seeing the protests that get that go to the jail to try and get Tom Hayden out of jail. That's a powerful reversal in its own right, but it's, because I know that actually seeing the crosscut to the protest for the first time, so that's why it could have been the midpoint, but I don't know that it was. I think the true reversal is the murder of Fred Hampton, followed by Bobby Seale's condemnation by the judge right in the middle of the fucking courtroom. That is the reversal because it comes with a decision, first of all, by a key character. So Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Richard Schultz acts for the first time in a direction we hoped he would act in at some point in the fucking movie, by actually allowing Seale to be separated from the others and giving him his mistrial, getting him out of this situation and away from that fucking judge. There's an unraveling from there too, which is why I thought that was the midpoint. So from there, we have like this kind of false hope moment, the whole accepting of it as a political trial, Ramsey Clark's testimony being stomped on by that fucking judge. That's from there. It's all unraveling. So we have that. We have the learning about Hayden's initiating of the final riots, a twist we didn't see coming because he's the cool, calm, and collected one. Then Abby taking the stand, and of course followed by our climax, which is the statement by Hayden that ends the movie. Straightforward and brilliantly done all the way through. You're very entertained and very interested all the way. Very easy to keep my attention. Everything was just like, I just wanted to know what's going to happen. I want to see what happens. So my overall opinion on some more story elements here. The film does something great that I think the greatest of movies can do. It embodies a perspective that maybe not everyone in the audience agrees with, but yet the human depth of the characters and the situation shine through unavoidably. So you are going to care about these characters as you watch it, no matter what. This is why the film was so powerful, and why I was so thoroughly invested all the way through. On top of that, the main characters and their actions and their beliefs are so strong that our other characters in the film, who don't necessarily agree with them, can't help but feel for them and even support them at certain points in the movie. That's what made the Joseph Gordon-Levitt character so interesting, is that he's an antagonist, but he's a conflicted antagonist. He's the prosecutor who's, speaking on behalf of the state, not on behalf of our main characters. So it's literally his job to put them behind bars, and multiple times it's made subtly clear to us that he doesn't exactly believe fully in the side he's fighting for. You can tell. So his little decision at the end of the movie to stand up with everyone else and support was the most powerful moment for his character. The film also had an effective way of making us hate the side we're supposed to hate, and it comes down to that judge, played really brilliantly by Frank Langella, and I mean, I hated him. I really hated that fucking judge, man. Like, he was the antagonist of the movie. He was the main antagonist, and you hate him. You really hate him, man. And there's nothing worse than an antagonist with the kind of power he has. He has control over everything. So he just makes it harder and harder and harder and harder. And as you're watching, you hate him more and more. I mean, people, you gotta go watch this movie. It's very, very good. In terms of direction, I already mentioned how this was Sorkin's second film ever directed. He directed his last film, which was Molly's Game, another great movie. But this is the perfect film for him to direct. He's the king of courtroom dramas. And in this one, he had some great visual decisions on his part as a director that made me think, wow, is he actually a great director too? He definitely put himself in contention as a great one for this movie. The way he cut back and forth between scenes, but also the way he included real footage from the actual protests was great. If he didn't prove he's one hell of a director with Molly's Game, he definitely did it with this one. One moment I really loved was when the phone is ringing. In one sequence, the phone's ringing to tell Tom Hayden about Fred Hampton's murder. And while the phone is ringing, real photos of the crime scene are rapidly edited into the scene along with the sound of the ringing phone. What a fucking brilliant little decision on his part there. I loved that. So in terms of direction, that was one of the big ones that stood out to me. But there were a bunch of things in this movie that were worth talking about. And then we got to talk about the performances, of course. I can't even talk about this movie without talking about the performances. Every single one of them. To take material that Sorkin writes, which is already brilliant, and make it come to life, make it even better. Like, that's what the great actors and great writers do when they work together, when they cohesively just mesh, you know? Eddie Redmayne and Sacha Baron Cohen are the best for the strong dramatic moments and even the rather hilarious ones. Thanks to them and the writing they have to go off of, I felt every kind of emotion. I felt anger. I laughed. I didn't cry, but it wasn't that kind of movie, so it's fine. I'll also say that the best films are the ones that invoke multiple emotions effectively. I always say that, and this one did that. But even the little roles, Gordon Levitt, Michael Keaton showing up for 2 seconds in the movie, and he does a good job. But the guy I really want to talk about most for this movie was Mark Rylance, who has probably the most important role in the whole film, in the whole story. He plays William Kunstler, the defense attorney for our main characters. So basically he has to fight that fucking judge the whole time. It's him versus that judge, like, basically the whole time. And by doing so, he's taking up a position that's right in line with the people he's defending. He becomes one of them. That's his arc here. He's becoming one of them. You know, the people fighting for what they're fighting for. He has to fight against this judge, and it turns him into one of our heroes as well in this movie. That fight with the judge, it gets more and more frustrating, and Rylance's performance, because of that fight, gets better and better as the movie goes on. Other things that stood out, considering how 2020 has gone, I'm going to say that this is probably the best movie of the year so far, or at least top 3, because we forget about pre-pandemic 2020. We had 1917, we had 1917. It's definitely top 3 this year, that's for sure. Not only does it have historical relevance, but it has relevance for right now. It manages to come along for us to watch at almost the perfect moment. And it's a film everyone should see. So you can go check that out whenever you want, right? It's on Netflix right now. Go check it out. It's a great movie, so I'm going to rate it. I give it an 8.9 out of 10. Great. Definitely be watching it. I watched it twice already. I'll watch it again down the road. I'm sure I'll get to it again. It's a good movie. Great movie. But yeah, that is the trial of the Chicago 7, based on a true story. Let's do our fun fact of the week. This is a good one. This is a great one. I love this one. When I didn't know it, and when I found out about it, it was really cool to know about it. So did you know that the classic feud in The Godfather between Sonny and his brother-in-law Carlo was actually also a feud that extended to real life between the two actors? James Caan, who played Sonny Corleone, and Gianni Russo, who played Carlo, had a real-life problem with each other. Offset, onset, and offset. What many people don't realize was that Gianni Russo was just one of many actors in the film who were actual mobsters or who had mob ties. He wasn't a mobster, but he had mob ties. And that's how he landed the role of Carlo in this movie in the first place. I suppose James Caan resented that about Russo, because that's how he got the role, but also resented maybe the fact that of all the actors on set that Marlon Brando could have taken on as a protege, he actually took on Gianni Russo. So, these two just didn't get along. One night at a club, James Caan told Gianni that Carmine Persico, one of the 5 New York mafia bosses, was in the back with his daughter. Gianni went back to say hello and said, "Wow, your daughter is beautiful." But the girl turned out to be Carmine's girlfriend, not daughter. Caan had set him up, and luckily for Gianni, he wasn't hurt or anything worse than that. He could have been. Basically, they feuded throughout the filming, and in the scene where Caan's character Sonny beats the shit out of Gianni's character Carlo, Caan improvised a bunch of stuff, like throwing the billy club at him, biting Russo's hands. Those were not in the script. He just did that in the scene. That stuff really happened. And Gianni finished shooting the scene with a few broken ribs. There's also, just another quick mention, there's also a punch in that scene that is so clearly not believable. You can see him miss the face. That was actually, they were actually unable to fix that. Gianni asked Coppola once, "Why didn't you fix that?" And Coppola said, "Well, once you win an Oscar, you can't touch that negative." That's just really, really cool fact about the greatest film in American cinema. Yeah. Question of the week. Following up on last week's question, so a really cool one. I asked what is the perfect TV episode of all time, and I picked The Battle of the Bastards. But for some reason, when I was thinking of it, I forgot about how, Breaking Bad is like the greatest show ever made. I forgot how great those episodes were. It doesn't matter because it's Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones that take up the 5 best episodes ever made. So it was actually Ozymandias, the third to last episode of Breaking Bad, which was considered the perfect TV episode of all time. That was number 1. Then Battle of the Bastards was number 2. That Breaking Bad episode is probably the only 10 out of 10 episode on IMDb. It is literally a 10 out of 10. Go look. It is. So it makes sense that it's number 1. Under that, it's more Game of Thrones. So we have Ozymandias, Battle of the Bastards, and then we have the Reigns of Castamere from Game of Thrones. Which, if you don't know which episode that is, fucking Red Wedding. Ring any bells? That's number 3. Number 4 is Felina, the series-ending episode of Breaking Bad. The series finale of Breaking Bad is number 4. And those are the 4. I did 4 there. So those are, after that, it was some other episode from a show I didn't recognize. So I didn't put it in here. But those are the 4. Those 4 are the perfect TV episodes. This week's question. Since the trial of the Chicago 7 has a stoner and hippie element to it, I found one that was along those lines. This week's question is, what is the best stoner film of all time? Go for it. There's a lot of obvious ones. I picked Pineapple Express. That's because I grew up on it. I laugh at it every time I watch it. But there's a few obvious ones to pick from there. Movie quote of the week. This is a tougher one, but if you can tell me where it's from, props to you. Yes. And that makes me want to follow my heart. But maybe we've spent too long trying to figure all this out with theory. So listen to me, when I say that love isn't something we invented. It's observable, powerful, has to mean something. Maybe it means something more, something we can't yet understand. Maybe it's some evidence, some artifact of a higher dimension that we can't consciously perceive. I'm drawn across the universe to someone who I haven't seen in a decade, who I know is probably dead. Love is the one thing we are capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space. Maybe we should trust that, even if we can't understand it yet. Name that movie. That's our episode this week. Couldn't really find anything for Caught My Attention, but this week on Caught My Attention, I saw some things about. I mentioned the show Your Honor. You should check out the trailer for. Star Wars' next big project is books. It's books, but it takes place in the High Republic era, which takes place 200 years before the movies. They revealed concept art for a younger Yoda. But they also revealed this week concept art for the Padawans of that era, including a Wookiee. I don't know. I'm just interested in it because if they're taking a whole new era and telling stories in it, maybe there's a possibility of doing a movie or TV show in that era too. So that's interesting to me. But yeah, it wasn't really a whole lot that I saw. That's our episode this week. I'm Ben Morganti, and you can follow me personally at the Ben Morganti. Follow the show at Screen Preach. Subscribe. Check out my website, benmorgantistory.com. Some projects up there you can read. Anyone can read. Subscribe to BMS Studios on YouTube. And if you go, support the show, become a patron at Patreon. You can get free shirts and early access to episodes. That's what I got for you right now. But yep, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good week. Have a cinematic week.